Hello, everyone. This is Steve Lemke. I'm coming to you from Boston, the headquarters of Rhodes Scholar. We're delighted to have you with us today. We're getting ready to start in just a few minutes. We've got a great mix of participants today for the webinar. We're very encouraged by that. What we want to do also is to do a sound check, and if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, about halfway down on the right, you'll see a hand that is held up, a thumb and four fingers. That's called raising your hand. So if you can hear my voice and you click on that, you will have raised your hand and said, yes, I can hear you. And secondly, on the right-hand side in the lower corner, you'll see a little lined out box. That's the Q&A chat box. So if you have a question now or in the future or something else, by all means, you should type your question in there or type your comment. If for some reason you can't see the slide or can't hear us, let us know. We've got our crack tech team here working with us, so we're happy to help you where we can. So we're going to start in a few minutes. We got a number of people who are still signing on, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. Hello again from Rhodes Scholar in Boston. This is Steve Lemke. I want to, for those of you who were on earlier, this is again a sound check. On the right-hand side of your screen, about halfway down, you'll see a raised hand. If you can hear my voice, click on that. That's called raising your hand, and you'll be able to tell us that you can hear us. If you can't see the slide, but you can hear my voice, let us know. How do you do that? In the right-hand corner, there's a box that with some thin lines around it. That's the Q&A box or chat box. If you have a question or something else that you'd like to share with us, please let us know and we'll respond to you. Also, during the presentation, we will be collecting questions as we go. So if there's anything that you'd like to make a comment on or question while we're talking, please do so. And twice in the presentation, once halfway through and once at the end, we'll collect the questions. We'll stop talking for a couple minutes and come back and answer the questions. We anticipate that this webinar will last about 1 hour, and we'll start in about 2 minutes. Thank you. Hi, I'm back. One of the quick questions we had is people were wondering how they can communicate with us. I want to repeat something. Because we have so many people on the session, we can't really have an interactive so that we have people talking to us and over us and so forth. So you'll be listening only, but if you have a question, you can type it in on the right, or a comment, you can type it in on the right-hand side, and we'll collect them as we go. Thanks. Hello again, everybody. This is Steve Lemke coming to you from Boston. It's 5 after 1. We're still waiting for a few people, but we'll get started with some of the housekeeping details. And to say one more time, to do a sound check on the slides, you should be able to see a slide now that says welcome. You can see the slide. You're successfully logged on to the Educational Travel Community Travel Planner webinar. If you can hear my voice, about halfway down on the right-hand side, you'll see a hand raised up with a thumb and 4 fingers. If you click on that, you can tell us that you can hear me. And secondly, in the lower right-hand corner, if you have a question now or a comment now or later, at any time during the presentation, please type your comments in there and we'll collect them as we go. And 2 times during the presentation, one halfway through after we talk about community and the other after we talk about the conference, we'll collect the questions and go from there. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. We've got people from locations in many different time zones and across the world. In the webinars, we've had 4 continents represented in the webinars. It's very gratifying to know that there's a lot of interest in these. I also want to point out that they are being recorded, so if you just can't get enough of it and want to, lull yourself to sleep tonight listening to the same thing, by all means do that. Or if you want to share it with your boss or somebody else, let them know that it's recorded and that it will be online. I want to say special thanks to Mara Della Pascoli, who's with us today. She's the founder of ETC. She's the one who is working with us and has worked with us here at Elder Hostel Rhodes Scholar for years. It's been a great collaborative situation. We're delighted to be part of this. We've got a great mix of organizations today from the planner side. We've got museums, natural history groups, university and alums, zoos, conservation groups, art and culture groups. It's a really strong and positive group, so we expect to have some positive interaction as we go through. We'll hold it to roughly an hour from now, so Mara, I'll turn it over to you, and we'll go.
Hello. I wanted to welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see the attendance at this webinar, and I want to thank you for taking an hour out of your day. I know that's very precious time to join us here in Boston with Rhodes Scholar. I certainly would like first to thank our host here, Rhodes Scholar, who has allowed these webinars to happen. This is our 2nd year, and we have a wonderful tech team sitting with us also. So thank you for attending. And I'd also like to thank our presenters today. We have a wonderful mix of presenters. We have Scott Olson, Director of Travel from Utah State University. And we have Leslie Jennings Rowley, the Executive Manager of Princeton Journeys, and Alexandra Maddock, Associate Director of Member Travel at the Art Institute of Chicago. And I should mention that we had a webinar this morning for the destinations operators and suppliers, and Roberta Moore was representing the tour operators at that webinar. So we've asked her to stay on and perhaps interject a few comments as relevant to our presentation today. So thank you, Roberta. We have Director of Special Interest Programs at Thompson Safaris. I'd also like to thank my co-facilitator, comrade in arms here, Steve Lemke at Rhodes Scholar. It's always a pleasure to do these webinars with him. I can assure you that we both run an on-time webinar. We have a 1-hour duration, and we cover a great deal of information. And basically, there are 2 discussion objectives. One, we focus first on the ETC community for the first half hour, and the second half hour on the ETC conference upcoming in February, our 29th year. After each section, we'll have some Q&A and a short break. The objective really is to give you an overview, sort of a taste, tidbits of the high points of both the community, what's new in the community, and what will be new at the conference upcoming. And hopefully this will give you the incentive to go online and to check out our new face online. We have several social media links, and those have been expanding. And thank you all if you have liked us on Facebook, and continue to do so. So with that, we can move on to the actual community. We're going to present that for the first half hour.
Thanks, Mara. We're going to go to Leslie now, who's going to talk to us about the ETC community. But I do want to say one thing before we get started, that the conference in 2015 represents 29 years, and probably 25 years of that were conference first, community second. But a whole variety of social networking and so forth has pushed community to the forefront, not diminishing the conference at all, but just trying to get to be a consistent community rather than just a conference. So Leslie?
That's right, Steve. So one of the things that if you've been an attendee at the Educational Travel Conference before, you'll know that the energy leading up to the conference and then afterwards is so high, and we're among friends and really learning and excited about what we do and ready to do more of it throughout the coming year. But a year is a long time, and for many years now, colleagues across the country have voiced their desire to have really communication constant throughout that 365-day period between conferences. And so there had been an initial kind of dalliance with that with our spring roundtables that really had come into existence as being times for various communities around the country geographically could get together and give feedback on the conference to build and make that conference better for the next year. Well, those have tended to turn into more learning and networking, kind of an expansion of the signature conference. And so with this desire among our members, the Executive Advisory Council has been looking over the past few years of how we would really technologically do that and make this a year-round community with online tools being at the forefront of that. And so this past spring, the EAC outlined what the community platform would look like, and the platform is now online. And many of you will have seen that, having heard about this webinar. So you'll see that there are lots of tools, and we'll talk about that in this webinar, of course. But of course, tools are only static and can't be of a benefit to anyone if they're not used and pushed to grow and be more efficient and helpful and collaborative. So really, without the members of the community, the tools for making that 365 communication and touch point won't happen. So it can happen with your participation, your ideas for items that could be talked about among us, but also your membership fees. And so the conference registration fee can't sustain all the services outside of the conference. So we need everyone to join as members to be part of this community. And luckily, that's a no-brainer. We want to be part of this community and want it to continue. So I think Mara will be able to talk about all of our panelists will be talking about what those benefits really are.
Thank you, Leslie. The last thing that's on the list of the community's, pardon me, is expectations, and that's one of the things that we're going to be covering today too, the expectations that you as planners have, that the DAS people have, and that the conference organizers have. So it's great to have everybody here as part of the community. We're going to go to Scott now. We're going to get in the weeds for a second about personal profiles, but it's an important component of this because you can't have a community without the individuals. Scott?
That's exactly right, and Leslie brings up some great points that this is a vibrant and growing community, but to make it such and keep it such, we all have to participate. And so I encourage everyone to go online and complete their personal profile, their member profile, as well as their organization profile. This is key to making the entire community successful throughout the year, not just at the conference, but throughout the year. There's some pretty basic information that you're asked to fill out there, just your name, your contact information, things like that, but also how long you've been working in the travel industry, how long you've been at in your current position, how much time is spent on travel. Many of us have various responsibilities in addition to our travel responsibilities. And by completing all of this information, then we're able to learn from one another and network with one another, both at the conference, but also in the community throughout the year. And I think that's important. As with so many communities of this type, you get out of it what you put into it. And so if you're willing to complete the information and complete your profile, then different travel planners, colleagues, as well as destinations and suppliers will be able to find you and network with you at various times throughout the year. And I think that's extremely important, and that's the only way that the community will continue to grow and thrive as it has in the past.
And Scott, one thing I want to add to that is that if we do look at the profiles, we add up the number of new people and the number of years in the travel industry. It helps both in the industry, but also helps us plan each of the conferences that are coming up. So what I'd like to do now is go to Mara, who's going to discuss the benefits of belonging to the ETC community. Mara's been doing this for a while, so Mara?
Thank you, Steve. The benefits. Basically, we have been expanding these over the past 5 years as resources have allowed. And they basically have been expanded according to what our community members said they needed. They needed an individualized dashboard, and they wanted the ability to go online searches, not only for individuals, but for companies, and to find out what countries are most popular, who is offering what, who does FIT programs versus package programs. They wanted research, the current research. Is there any research in our educational field or other things that would potentially help us to present to our bosses or for us to understand the market and the trends? We have reports. We have extensive reports. We've been building those for years. Now we're taking them apart and actually putting them in a more visually appealing manner where there's photo libraries and then there's content and there's contact bases, so that we're kind of dissecting the various reports to give information out according to the demand and various ways to find that information. And one also are the MP3 session downloads from several conferences prior to the one upcoming, where you can actually listen to some of the sessions and look at the handouts, and really they're quite relevant, and to share that with your colleagues in your offices. And you also have the e-conference directory for 2015, which references back to what Scott said, that we have profiles, and in order to have this directory, we do need to have profiles that highlight your organization. Since our 25th meeting, we have expanded this, and basically we've come up with a quick little dashboard. This is a snapshot of a dashboard. Those of you who are not current members of ETC will not be able to get to an active linked dashboard, but you will be if you sign up as a member. And on this dashboard, we allow people to navigate the various resources that are available to community members. Up in the upper left-hand side, we encourage everyone to post announcements, events, whatever's going on, new positions. It's really kind of a community bulletin board where people can share resources. The destination operators and suppliers are able to post on this too, not commercially, but basically to give, perhaps some destinations can give us some idea of a potential museum that might be of interest within country, etc. Underneath, just because the conference is coming up, we have a convenient little link to various important aspects of the conference. So it's an easy link for you to navigate. So you don't need to use the home page of the website. You're actually on this dashboard, and that's your personalized dashboard. You'll notice something very interesting in the middle where are member exclusives, and that is not available to destinations and operators and suppliers. That's only available to travel planners. And in that section, we have proprietary information for travel planners, and we keep expanding those resources as planners share what they really need to be able to be a vital part of this community and do their job in a more efficient fashion. On the top, we do a photo gallery. On the bottom, we have more photo galleries. The consensus at the Advisory Council is that we need to be far more visual with the website. So we're evolving that, and you'll be finding a lot of fun photos, which actually people can actually download for their brochures, because we have wonderful destination shots in there as well. So we're actually building not what we call a stock photo library, but more of an action, educational, community-based library of showing engagement between travelers and the destinations they visit. And on the right-hand side is perhaps the most powerful tool, is the member searches and organizational searches. So then we go on to the digital library, which we are expanding continually. And on there, you can see various reports that are there, field notes. And again, as Leslie referenced earlier, the more robust this becomes is based on the more information that our colleagues wish to share with the community. We can do an extensive amount of postings, but really it becomes more robust when we hear from community members. So this is our first year that we've had it this expanded, and it really is continuing to grow based on the number of entries we get. We've gotten some really wonderful research reports that have just come to us, and now we're able to post them here. If you clicked on research reports, you could see the variety of research reports, and those are only a few of them on the right-hand side that we are just showcasing to you every year, that we try to do different research that we think will help colleagues in the industry. And then, of course, as I mentioned, all of the MP3 download recordings from the conference and conferences prior, we're actually videotaping some of them now, because a lot of colleagues have said, we need to show this to our boss. This was a fantastic presentation, and I'd like to really showcase a snapshot of what happens at the conference. And also, links to these presenters are their handouts. So we it's really a valuable tool. But we move on now to the Travel Planner exclusives, and there we have Jumpstart. In the prior years, you had to sign up for Jumpstart exclusively. Jumpstart now is available to every member, Travel Planner member. It is not available to the DOS community, but it is for travel planners. So this allows you to turn on Jumpstart if you have a newcomer to your program and say, let's listen to these Jumpstart tutorials, and basically go and give them a snapshot or actually some education if they can't come to the conference. I've noticed that many of the colleagues have called in and said, no, my whole staff has listened to these tutorials. I should emphasize they're done by your colleagues on a volunteer basis. We record 2 of the 5 every year, and to keep them updated throughout. So it's a wonderful, wonderful tool for training. We also have an AllTalk listserv. This is not restricted to members. This is open to all travel planners within the community to share concerns and issues, and it's moderated on a rotating basis by nonprofit travel planner colleagues. So that is really fun, and it gets more active, but the more you post, the more active that listserv will become. And again, I should really emphasize these tutorials are now available to everyone within your organization. And so it's to take this full day program of 5 sessions, you would have to spend a week and far more resources than even the registration fee for becoming a member is. So please take advantage of this, or at least share it with your colleagues.
And thanks, Mara. I would say one thing too about the tutorials. One thing that happens in work is to know what you know and know what you don't know. And I can guarantee you, when you look at the Jumpstart tutorials, you start shaking your head saying, didn't know that. So I echo Mara's comments completely too, no matter how long you've been in this business, to do work with the Jumpstart tutorials. Now we're going to go to Scott, who's going to discuss registration and the cost of being a community member. Scott?
Okay, as far as registration, it's really quite simple and easy to do. You just go to the website that you see there, travellearning.com, and you are able to register for the conference in the community. One great thing about this is who doesn't love a good deal, right? All of us like a good deal, and when you register for the conference, your community membership fee is discounted by quite a bit, by $100. So it's quite a savings to register. It's all bundled together when you register for the conference. It's very quick and easy to do, and I encourage you to take advantage of this this great deal and this great bundle and get it done quickly, as soon as possible. There are deadlines, of course, early bird deadlines and such, but do it right away, and you don't even have to worry about those deadlines. That's kind of my motto: just get it done and out of the way, and we don't have to worry about it anymore. And so your membership, by the way, is valid through the mid-December of 2015. So if you register now, you get over 12 months of membership. So that's a great deal. And it's very simple to do. You just, as the slide says, you put in your email address and you get notification, and then you can arrange for payment. Different payment options are available. If you use a credit card or need to send a check, or whatever the case may be for your institution, it's very simple and easy to do.
And I want to say too that this, when you do this, and when it says number 5, you receive immediate access to your personal member dashboard. It's instant. So as soon as you make the payment, you're ready to go. We're going to go on to Alex now to discuss the topic of trip listings. It's kind of complicated, but Alex can get us through this. Alex?
Thanks, Steve. The trip listings is the first major initiative. It's really a benchmarking project that's been undertaken by the educational travel community with the goal of documenting and showcasing the strength and role of the nonprofit travel niche as a major driver in the global educational travel market. What we want to do here is state as accurately as possible the impact of the educational travel community on leisure travel, both nationally and internationally. It's a goal that's necessary for the well-being of ETC members and the community at large. Basically, if ETC cannot demonstrate an aggregate dollar value of the community, destinations are hard-pressed to ask their management to support the community and planners. Just like your boss or leadership, they want to know what your program is contributing to your organization or institution, theirs do as well. They want to know what is the return on investment, how is attending the conference benefiting them. Essentially, they have to justify their attendance, just like we do. And they also need to know how many people does this community move as a whole. What is the amount spent? They want numbers, they want dollars. Every other community or association has an aggregate number to share, but ETC doesn't really. So the trip listing initiative is really important. It's probably the most important initiative to further the community and the conference. And without this data, sustainability is in question. I know that, I create spreadsheets of all of this information anyways, so it's really just a matter of finding those few minutes to upload the information, and it's really easy. There's an Excel template. If you've got many programs, you can just upload everything at once. If not, you can do them individually. Personally, in terms of my time management, I think it's easier to set aside 5 minutes just after each trip returns, and just do it one by one instead of trying to cram everything in at the end of the year.
So as Alex said, right here in front of us, there's a sample tour summary for 2012. Mara and I were talking yesterday. We have 600 or so organizations that belong to ETC, and we've got the first 50 in, and these are just three of the countries represented by the first 50. You already have over $64 million worth of estimated total cash flow into these countries, and each of the things that are listed here, if you do your trip listings, are anonymous. No one will ever see your numbers. They will be compiled in the aggregate, but they do show the number of organizations visiting a country, the number of tours, the price ranges, the average price of the tours, which does not include airfare, and the estimated total cash flow. But most of these are based on 20 participants per tour. Mara?
We also, as a result of the advisory council meeting we had in Peru, we're now taking this data and making it relevant to travel planners. In other words, we can tell you what are the top selling destinations in the world, who are the top selling operators within this community, what is the range in pricing of tours. We can slice and dice this data in an aggregate fashion with total anonymity that will help you look at your program and benchmark it against the industry at large within this community. Actually, planners are sending in, as they look at this data, suggestions of, well, I'd like to know this, I'd like to know that. Well, the first step we've taken just beyond taking the names of trips and the data and the times and dates they lead is to look at the difference of what is the percentage of this market that's devoted to riverboat cruising versus ocean cruising. We've now broken down every single tour into train, to jet travel, to river travel, and so basically those statistics should be coming out in a couple of months, and we'll be able to share that. And I think as we grow and more than 50 organizations contribute the data, it will be astounding to see the aggregate number that this community commands in the industry. And that has a big influence on airlines and on our tour operators to say that we do count significantly in the world picture of tourism.
And we'll talk about sponsorships and sponsors later in the presentation, but this has an incredible impact on the conference as well to keep costs down, because without the numbers, to be a sponsor, it's just sort of our belief, but this will help us turn that belief into some kind of quantitative work.
So as a member, you can get this data. It is only available, however, to the travel planners. Those who contribute the data get the reports.
So on to another initiative of ETC, which is the Responsible Tourism Initiative, and we're going to turn to Leslie to talk about that.
Sure, thanks, Steve. So this is actually a bit related because, as Mara just said, the educational travel niche is significant, but we're different. And the subtext of many of our statements about what we do in educational travel and our value proposition is how we differ from the, quote, mass tourism. One way of doing that is that the educational travel community has taken a stand and has really declared a collective commitment to advancing responsible tourism. So ETC hosts an annual responsible tourism showcase to recognize the efforts of ETC members and partners that they work with who are being very diligent in the field to develop and implement responsible tourism initiatives. So each year we try to put our money where our mouth is and do have recognition awards for these worthy organizations. So you can look now at our honorees online in the community and consider including their projects in your tours as a unique selling piece. So one way that we are able to put that money out there is from money that comes in from you at the conferences. So our silent charity auction funds go to support the Responsible Tourism Showcase. And really that is a grassroots program that we're trying to recognize pioneers, but also by recognizing what we do as a community. So often our attendees and members who can't even attend will donate either trips or items from their country that they're representing, or what we're trying to look at too in furthering this notion of community is perhaps think about those skills and arts and crafts and wonderful abilities that you have that you might be able to share with your fellow participants in the form of some sort of artistic offering. Maybe that's a wonderful photograph that you've taken in your destination of choice, or many of our very talented colleagues and friends know how to do beadwork and jewelry making. And so it would be nice to see more items appear in that silent charity auction this year that really exemplify what we're trying to get at with this sense and notion of community. So that's just one additional way we can do that.
And one thing I want to add to that, Leslie, is that, and to the participants, is that in addition to supporting responsible tourism, don't miss the SCA benefits that say to you, you get prominently displayed things that you're interested in, things that you want to do. It's a great way to participate both on the planner and on the DOS side.
That's right.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to stop for a couple minutes. We've had a few questions come in. We're going to take those. We're about halfway done. We've talked about the community. After we come back in a couple minutes, we'll discuss the questions, and then we'll move on to the conference itself and what's new. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. Okay, we're back, and there's a couple of questions that we had. One is about registration, and once I'm registered for the conference, does my membership automatically start? Mara?
This year, at the advice of the Advisory Council, we bundled the registration and your conference membership into one fee. So if you register for the conference and you submit payment, the moment your payment is received, you are completely active with your membership, and all of these links on the dashboard will all of a sudden become live. Right now, if you go in there and you just register but you haven't submitted payment, those links will be not live. They won't be live. They'll be static. So you are done. Once you make payment, you are completely live in your membership.
Great. And we had a question about how to donate something for the silent charity auction. I just want to go back to that for a second. It says at the bottom, for complete SCA guidelines, you can go to Travel Learning. You can go on the Travel Learning site and find it there. But you do want to donate your item on or before December 15th of this year. Okay. Okay. So the 29th Annual Educational Travel Conference, February 17th to the 20th at the Boston Marriott Copley Place Hotel. That's what we're going to be talking about now, and Mara's going to, now that we've talked about what to do leading up to it and how to be part of the community, we're going to find out what's going to happen literally at the conference. Mara?
Thank you, Steve. Even though this is our 29th year at the conference, it's always good to reemphasize what the core principle or the agenda for the conference is, and its history and purpose still remains steadfast. It is a professional development conference for colleagues that are working within the educational travel community. It has not evolved to, nor will it, to a trade show or a travel exchange. It largely is an educational forum where 3/4 of the conference are devoted, it's really devoted to that. 6 months of the year is devoted to developing these sessions and to bringing in these speakers that are addressing the really, maybe the conundrums as well as the challenges and opportunities within our industry. So its purpose remains to create partnerships between nonprofits and for-profits in terms of delivering a program, but the educational portion of it, which many travel planners can only afford to come to one conference a year, it has to be educational. They have to make that case to their bosses that it's first and foremost an educational forum. So as we talk through the conference in the next few minutes, you'll see that it is very planner-centric in terms of its priorities and its agenda.
So we also want to know what are the benefits. We're going to go to Leslie to talk to us about what are the benefits of actually attending this ETC conference. Leslie?
Sure. So each year that I've attended, and this is now my 12th or 13th year, I believe, I've enlarged my network both professionally and personally. And I think that is the key seller to many attendees, that we amass, even though Mara said it's not in kind of a trade show format, we amassed this just amazing group of planners and destinations and operators and suppliers that really go through the range, the whole gamut of what we do as an educational travel niche. And so the fact that it is so much more than a trade show makes the key determining factor for this to be my one and only conference of the year. So the educational sessions are what really hook me into attendance every year. I can't imagine any other environment in which we can all really share our best practices, get into those weeds, as Mara was saying, deal with the conundrums, but also the opportunities, and do it in a collaborative nature, not competitive, not feeling as though we're under the gun to make a sale. This is really about enrichment for us, professional development, and the bottom line, making our programs better. So in past years, I've met with tour operators that we had not yet used before, and really to begin a conversation about how our business models might fit together, or to pitch a new concept that I was trying out. And now, over the years, I've had real great success with now working with some of those operators whom I met many years ago. Last year, I spoke to more destinations than ever before. I think that's in the evolution of attending this conference. More and more, you get to see, whereas maybe I didn't understand how a destination could help me before, now I'm understanding that these are the area experts, and if I could benefit from their country expertise, that would only make my programs more compelling. I'd also learn from them how their market is being perceived in non-group settings, and that really helps me kind of think of trends before we start seeing them within groups. And all in all, the connections that I've made through all of the collaborations, either in sessions or in the bazaar or other Connect meetings, have really just helped make our roster less cookie cutter and more distinctive in the market, and I think that's only helpful in terms of our bottom line. So,
as Leslie was saying, there are two words I think that sum up the conference, both from the history and the purpose, and it's education and networking. And the next question that we're going to address was, where does all this come from? So who plans this conference? How do you deal with the educational side and the networking side? And Alex is going to discuss the planning process and how we get there. Alex?
Thanks, Steve. There is a tremendous amount of work and planning that goes into each and every conference. Mara and her team work year-round in conjunction with the Executive Advisory Council and other members of the community to try to make this a really beneficial and amazing experience for everyone that attends the conference and everyone who is just a member of the community, maybe online and doesn't attend the conference. Part of that is the regional roundtables that we host. In 2013, we offered 7, and that was to plan the conference in 2014. And this year in 2014, we'll be offering 6. If you're somewhere in the Midwest, we'd love to see you at the Chicago Roundtable at the Art Institute on April 16th. But we also have roundtables in Boston, Washington, D.C., New York, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. And this is really where everyone from that area, or if you just happen to be in the area, there's no cost to attend, and it's a full day of networking as well as programming, and just kind of, it's a platform for you to express what you would like to see at the conference and what would be beneficial to you as a planner.
I would also add to that that if you are anywhere near any of these cities, you can see that the roundtables take place following the conference. So it's always fresh and interesting, and they're just downright fun. And we started to do a little socializing at the end of them too. So they only go from 10 to 3 in the day, but sometimes they stretch on a little longer. So we also want to talk about the Executive Advisory Council. Alex?
Yep. So that is a group of planners and destinations and tour operators and other travel providers, and we meet once a year. It's been an honor to be on the Executive Advisory Council for 5 years now and to be able to contribute to the conference in such a meaningful way. It's really a group that gets together and takes all of that information from all of those individual roundtables and pulls all that together, and it's really kind of the meat and potatoes of where the bulk of what actually ends up happening at the conference comes from. And everybody from the board is representing, kind of their interests. So I would go and I would talk about what's important to me and to you all as a planner. Destinations would represent destination interests and so forth.
So we're going to go, oh, Mara, did you want to add something?
I just wanted to say that we do produce a report after these advisory councils, so everyone in the community can read not only the country that we visited and some of the highlights of the country. We provide a lot of data. So this mid-year meeting report, we have them for several years prior, wherever we go for the Executive Advisory Council. So that's another resource to mine on the community site.
And there's also not only the current Executive Advisory Council, but an emeritus group. So there are many people within the organization, probably 50 strong right now, that represent the Emeritus Council that are past or current Executive Advisory Council members. We'd next like to go to Scott. Now that you've got the conference and you know how it's been planned, we want to look at some of the logistics for 2015. Scott?
All right. So this year, it's a little bit different format for the conference, being during the week. Please plan, if you can, to arrive so that you're ready to begin the conference on Tuesday, the 17th of February. It's in a great city in Boston, one of my absolute favorite cities in the country, if not the world. And I think that you will enjoy your time there. But plan to be there on Tuesday so that you can begin and take full advantage of the conference. Because it's in such a big city, flights should be fairly reasonable. We're all in the travel industry, and we know how flights work. Book early, if at all possible. You'll get much better rates. And then, please, this is my soapbox, my pet peeve. Please plan to stay through the entire conference. In my experience, I've been to the conference several years now, the presenters that are presenting on the last day are just as good as the presenters that present on the first day, and yet I've noticed sometimes that the crowd seems to dwindle a little bit, and I know that we all have things that come up, but if you can plan now to attend the entire conference, and please plan to stay through Friday evening, get a flight out late Friday night or early on Saturday. It really makes for a better opportunity at the conference for all of us. As we've mentioned, it's such a conference about networking, and if if people are gone, then there's fewer people to network with. And so I would say, please plan now to attend the entire conference through Friday evening, and then you can even opt to stay an extra day or two in Boston and fly out on Saturday or Sunday. That works really well, and enjoy the city.
And actually, that raises a great point. And Alex is going to talk to us about some of the things we have that are pre-conference activities that take place on the first day, Tuesday, February 17th. Alex?
Thanks, Steve. Two things that we have programmed for this year is what we call a Seminar on Wheels, or SOW, and also something new, which is a scavenger hunt. So the Seminar on Wheels is something that we've offered at past conferences, and they've been very popular. We've done them in Providence, Rhode Island, and Winter Park, Florida. And this year we're pleased to offer two different tours that you can choose from. One is in Salem, and highlights from that tour, we'll be visiting the Salem Witch Museum. There's quite an interesting history there, and also some of the old historic sites there, as well as the House of the Seven Gables. We'll have a lovely lunch and also visit the Peabody Essex Museum, and we'll have a great local guide there as well. In Boston, it will be more of an art focus, and we'll be having a great tour of the Museum of Fine Arts there, and we'll be visiting with a local artist at his studio, and also we'll be seeing Trinity Church, which is just an amazing feat of beautiful stained glass and amazing architecture. The other thing we'll be doing is something new, and it's a scavenger hunt, and it's from 6:45 to 8 p.m., and basically it is free of cost, and we'll be divided into groups of 4, and our hotel, the Marriott at Copley Place, is actually connected to an enormous, beautiful shopping center, so we'll send you off with clues, and you'll just be hunting for little things around there, and we'll have fun prizes, and it's just a fun way to meet new people before the conference, and that is free of cost. For both the seminars and the scavenger hunt, you do need to pre-register, though. If you've already registered to take advantage of the early bird rate, that's great. You can go back and modify and sign up for either one. And there is a fee for the seminars and no fee for the scavenger hunt. And it does begin at 6:45, so you can actually do both activities if you'd like.
And they're filling fast, so I suggest that you do that soon. Now we're going to go on to Leslie. Once you get to the conference, what do we do if you're brand new? So Leslie's going to talk about something that we strongly suggest if you are new to the conference.
That's right. So welcome if you are new, and we'll love to see you in February. If you indicate that on your registration form for the conference that you would like a mentor, then you're assigned a volunteer mentor, and that ideally comes from a similar institution to your own, or at least generally the same type of focus. And it's strictly a volunteer from our community membership who will connect with you prior to the conference and kind of help guide you through this conference, which we're making sound kind of nice and easy, and it is nice and easy, but it can be overwhelming for that first time because there are so many educational sessions and you'll feel like you're missing out, and we'll just kind of help you figure out what the best sessions for you to attend are, and help you navigate the types of organizations that you might like to meet with if you haven't already done that online or set that up online. And so we'll just have a time to really touch base and get to know one another face-to-face from 5 o'clock to 6:30 on that first evening, February 17th. I'm so glad to know that we can still do the scavenger hunt, so we can just go right from there. That being said, we are always looking for mentors. So those of you on the webinar and those listening after who might not be new this time, you have things to share, and we would love to be able to partner you with one of our newcomers. So please feel free and feel compelled to serve in this way and get in touch with ETC organizations so that they can put you on the roster list. One thing to note, for those of you who are new or not new, as Mara said earlier, the online Jumpstart program is also a great way to get newcomers quickly up to speed and help those old-timers of us refresh on some of the basics so that we really feel confident coming into those first sessions in the first day.
Great. So now that you're through the doors in February 17th, 2015, Mara, what are they going to see and what are they going to do once they get there?
Well, we hope to wow you when you get there. We have some very exciting agenda coming up. As we've talked extensively, is that the travel roundtables and the EAC committee come up with the issues that we need to address, and we have to go out and find those speakers that can really both inspire us and help us along the road to walk back to our offices with some ammunition in hand to actually create better programs and to deal with some of the challenges which are always in front of us being in the travel industry. The keynotes at the conference, we usually typically have 5, and we're wonderfully, well, I'm very, very thrilled to welcome back Pico Iyer. He's a very renowned travel writer and author, and he will be opening up our conference on an inspirational note, talking about savoring our global classroom face-to-face. Pico is asked to stay throughout the conference, and so he will be, you'll see him in various sessions, and it's wonderful to have him, to be able to talk to him. He certainly has a great retrospect on the travel industry. We also have Peter Yezowitz biannually to give us the state-of-the-art on travel trends, and with particular reference to the educational travel community. And last year, Sue Hersowitz-Core, we invited in for a very small seminar that flowed out into the hallway because she was so enormously popular, and she's going to be keynoting this year on email as a sales tool. Are you persuasive enough? But she's quite a compelling speaker, and I'm thrilled to have her come. And also we have Esdras Suarez. He's the Pulitzer Prize-winning photojournalist, and he's a former Boston Globe photographer. And he'll be looking at through the eyes of the photojournalist and the power of using the right images. He will be very much in sync with our theme overall this year at the conference of living in a visual world. We're going to be talking about the connections and communications that we both make visually as well as with the written word. We will have Perry Hewitt, the CTO from Harvard University, that's the Chief Technology Officer. She's a dynamo, and she's going to be talking about the individual voices of our alumni and members that resonate more than our institutional voices. And basically, we will continue to have very, very intense tracks throughout the conference. I just wanted to mention 2 in the interest of time, because we basically will have 5 to 6 sessions that are devoted to each of these tracks. One being very important today on risk management. We'll be dealing a lot with the health issues and environmental issues out there, and how we arbitrate those issues with our marketing materials and our communications to travelers, and also an intensive track on marketing. And we're going to be kicking that off with a very, very strong focus on branding. And we're delighted to have Don Rodney, the Senior VP of Strategic Marketing and Creative at National Geographic organization, talking about creating clarity in brand, and we'll be extending that through to a very inclusive social media, as well as everything in between, direct mail and mail management and marketing and list management. Of course, formats are really important in any of our sessions at the conference. They're really ever evolving, and so we're going to be, I think, with basically about half of the sessions, if about 60% will have great participation with audience participation. So there are various formats. One that we're going to repeat is the workbench, where you actually have access to some of the key speakers that are presenting at the conference and have one-on-one communication with them. As you know, if you've ever hired some of the illustrious travel attorneys that we bring to the conference, 1 hour with them would pay your whole registration fee, and that will happen again. Also, we are taking that and expanding it to bring all of our keynote speakers into 3 workshops that we're doing. We call it the boot camp, and the theme is communications this year, mirroring our overall arching theme for the conference. And the 3 workshops we'll have on crisis communications. How do you deal in crisis communications? And we actually walk through a plan of action, customer communications, and we also have visual communications. So these are planned at the second part of Friday, which is the latter part of the conference, and they should be I mean, really, really exciting, because you will be working in these sessions. People who attend them will be bringing in various materials from their organizations, and you will walk home with a plan in hand.
Thanks, Mara. One of the things that's really important in all the conferences is the Travel Planner Forum, and Leslie's going to talk to us about that. Leslie?
Thanks, Steve. Yes. So since the conference beginnings in 1987, time has really been allotted for planners to get together without our other DOS counterparts, or destinations operators and suppliers, so that we planners can discuss issues of light concern. And from the feedback received after the conferences in the last few years, the planners on the Executive Advisory Committee have evolved this time into what today is our Travel Planner Forum, nearly a full day of planner-to-planner discussions. And they're substantive and collaborative sessions that are co-facilitated by two planners in a roundtable kind of setting for major sharing of best practices and woodshedding and leaving with action items. So it's not just a kind of talking head and me spouting what's worked at Princeton for everyone. It's really a collaborative effort among peers that are dealing with similar topics. And really, the EAC has really come with a curriculum that really speaks to the seasoned veterans among us as well as the first-timers among us, and spanning the kind of the focus, whether it be representatives from alumni associations or zoos and museum groups, cultural organizations. We all need to think about many of the same things. So we need to think about finding new travelers and market segments. We need to think about risk management. So some of the sessions this year that are on the agenda or being worked upon as of now are creating homegrown programs or starting hosting and faculty programs for your travel program, tax implications, those sorts of things that might be great for both first-timer and grizzled veterans, that we call ourselves. And then there are some that are specifically for those who are thinking on very nuanced topics. So our program ROI, what data requests we need to make, what procedures should we put in place for data gathering and analysis. And then more general sessions that could be useful to anybody. So shared departure techniques, how you fit in with other affinities or retail groups, particularly on cruises, that sort of thing. So really those sessions have been designed by us, for us, and really, again, the same mantra, we'll get out of it only as much as we put into it. So I really hope that everyone can participate very actively that day.
Thanks, Lizzie. There's another forum that echoes sort of that echoes the planner forum. It's the executive forum. And if you're in the field working hard every day and you have a boss or you have a dean or you have somebody else who sort of oversees the program but doesn't actually work on it, you'll see the executive forum. It's Thursday, February 19th. It's a full day. If you look at the first bullet line there, it says a full one-day forum exclusively designed for and open only to senior level directors. We encourage you to get your bosses in no uncertain terms to get there if they can. It will really help them learn about what you do, and it'll help them be a lot closer to the suppliers as well. So the more information you can share with the people who would come to the executive forum, they can come for one day. It's been very beneficial. We do offer it to them online if they want to do it, and we can go from there. So now what we're going to do is some of the executive forum presenters this year. Peter Yasovich is going to be talking to us again about cutting-edge research. Chase Poffenberger from Academic Travel Abroad will be talking about future trends of affinity travel. And the executive forums are facilitated by Carolyn Sheaf and A.B. Kotkin, longtime vets in the business. So they've been very, very popular, very well received across the board. Mara?
And I should add that that's only a sprinkling of the presenters. We actually bring together a lot of the presenters within the conference proper into the forum in a more collegial atmosphere to talk with the execs. And this year, it will be a very, very dynamic forum because there's such a great cadre of speakers in the Boston area. So we're very, very excited about that.
It's also very good for the participants to talk to each other, because they're not talking through a staff member, they're talking to their colleagues who are responsible for the bottom line of all the programs. And we've known for years that bottom line economics are important to the people who run the programs as well as the people who oversee them. So I don't think you can go wrong by doing that. Now we're going to turn to Scott, who's going to talk about the different types of people who attend the conference. Scott?
All right, this will be quick. I don't want to take a lot of time. Our time is dwindling down, but just please understand that those who attend the conference come from various backgrounds. There's a great depth of diversity in the people who attend. There are us travel planners, but there are also operators, U.S. tour operators and inbound operators, as well as destinations and others that attend. And so this really creates a wonderful opportunity for, as I've said earlier, for networking and getting to know a lot of other people, and for us to really work outside of our bubble or our comfort zone. And so take advantage of this diversity. I encourage you to take advantage of it and get to know a lot of other people, because we all have one thing in common, and that is the affinity in educational travel that we've all come to the conference to talk about. So even though we come from different experiences and backgrounds, we all have that in common. So please take advantage of it.
And the destinations are important too, as well as suppliers and sponsors. Suppliers are obviously people, airlines and others who supply the industry. Sponsors are critical to the success of the entire conference. They underwrite many of the evening events, many of the meals, the materials, and so forth. But I also want to talk about individual organizational roles and responsibilities, and this is the bad cop of the good cop, bad cop side of things. It's protocol. So what we're saying here is that as members of the ETC community, we either knowingly, unknowingly, directly, indirectly sign on to an agreement that actually says, if you look at the 3 bullet points, the first one says, no one will host or participate in, and I stress participate in. You as planners are often invited to go to events that are hosted at times when they're not supposed to be hosted. So we're asking you to be as diligent as we are the DAS people who we talked to this morning and others, not to host or participate in private invitational parties, dinners, or other events during the official time of the 17th to the 20th dates of the ETC conference. And the reason for that is that if you can't create a community if everybody's off in groups of 5, 10, or 12 at separate restaurants every night and lunch and everything else. So you can't create a community doing that, and it also undermines many of the sponsors who have hosted the official events, who are paying a lot of money to get people to come and hear their message. So enough said, but please be diligent about that. This doesn't impact the planners so much, but it's not fair to register once and bring 2 or 3 of your colleagues. That doesn't work either economically or spiritually for the group. And last but not least, if these things are violated and it comes to our attention after the first warning and a repeat of this little message, then we will prevent people who persist in doing that from coming to the conference. So now we're going to go to Scott to talk about a much cheerier conversation, and that's the connects, which are the meetings, which really are the meat of the conference if you want to sit down and connect and network with other people. Scott?
You're exactly right. I think the Connects meetings are the meat of the conference if you're wanting to connect with other people. And if you go online and register, after you've registered, you can see those that are attending meetings, and you can schedule a Connects meeting with them. You will, as a planner, receive invitations to connect, and the value that's in these meetings cannot be stated. It's a great opportunity to really get to know a destination, get to know a company you're thinking of working with, and get to know the person that you're working with as well. So look through the list of those attendees and schedule your own meetings. Don't wait for them all to come to you, but reach out and look to some destinations or some companies that you think may want to be attractive to you and that you would be interested in visiting with and beneficial for your particular travel program, and reach out and schedule the meetings. And the one thing I would say about them, please be cognizant of the fact that they are limited in time, and so don't take up more time than you're scheduled for, because that throws your schedule off as well as everyone else's schedule. But if you can, in the course of the conference, schedule a dozen or so appointments. You've got several days to do that. There are different categories in which these Connects meetings are available, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But make the most of your time there, and these Connects meetings are really the way to do that.
Hey, Scott, this is Roberta. I'd love to jump in here if I would. From the DOS perspective, we've spent a lot of resources to be there, and the Connects meetings are critical for us, to
to identify and meet up with you travel planners. We have stressed to the DOS attendees that it's critical for them to do their homework, to know about you and your organization and your program mission. But don't be afraid if they request a meeting. Don't be afraid to say to the requester, no, this isn't going to work for me, or give a quick reason. It is such a valuable time. I agree with you, and make it so for the DOS people as well. Don't waste their time, and don't be afraid to turn them down.
I agree with that too. And the worst thing is to have no response. A negative response is better than no response. Now we're going to have Alex talk to us about the types of connects. There are different connects for different groups. Alex?
Sure. Thanks, Steve. Really quickly, there are 3 different kinds. We have the existing business connects, and that's really time for you to meet with your already established partners to get your, must-do business done. Come armed with your checklist and boom, 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 tour operators, or, maybe your whatever you already have on your docket. Just get that out of the way. And travel planners typically don't confirm meetings at this time with new partners, so if you can try to avoid that, that will help as well. The other type of connect is new business connects, and this is where you're really scheduling meetings with new people you might be interested in working with. Maybe it's a new tour operator you've heard great things about. Maybe it's a destination you'd like to learn more about, or maybe you're thinking about switching insurance companies, whatever it may be. But this is the time for that. These connects do fill up, so it's happened to me before. I would suggest making these appointments well in advance to avoid disappointment, because people really do get booked up quite quickly. The third type is the speaker connects, and these are the free consultations that Mara mentioned with our esteemed ETC guest speakers. The only difference here is that unlike the other Connect meetings, you don't schedule them in advance or online. You're registering for these meetings on-site at the reception desk.
Great. Thanks, Alex. Leslie's going to buzz through so there's no misunderstandings on how to actually plan and schedule a meeting. Leslie?
Sure. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but 1 month before the conference, these opportunities for requesting and confirming meetings is available. Is that correct? Just wanted
that is correct, and we're trying to push it to 6 weeks if we have registrations, and they are getting larger now. So the earlier we can do it, the better.
Great. So we will definitely hear more about that, and when you're confirmed as a registrant for the conference, you'll be getting emails about that. So when you do, you really want to go into the community, the online community, and check out the list of attendees and all the delegates, and see if there's someone that you'd like to request a meeting with. This isn't just about us being travel planners being prey for DOS to come at us. We can certainly be proactive and find those operators and suppliers and destinations that you'd like to work with. Even, I think you can do planners if there are things that you need to get in on a quick 15 to 20-minute conference. So there's a really great interface online that you'd simply request by clicking a box to request to meet with a certain person, and fill in an intro as to why you'd like to sit down and what your mutually beneficial outcomes might be from that, and then send it off. And the computer really does the rest. It sends a notification to your invitee, and then they can decide to either take that appointment or reschedule that appointment if it doesn't work for them. And the flip side is true. You'll be getting notifications. You'll see that in your member dashboard that you have notifications and invitations, and you really need to kind of take on the responsibility of going in and looking at those and making sure that you can confirm as many as possible. And if there are times that don't meet, if maybe you're double booked somehow, that you get back to those individuals so that they don't hold that space for you in vain. So I think we'll hear more about that as the time comes, but it's really a proactive process. Again, to that same note of this is a tool for you and members of our community, and the more active we can be, the better.
Thanks, Leslie. So just to sum up roles and responsibilities and protocol, you understand how to make the Connects meetings. Roles and responsibilities are simply to think through in advance who you'd like to meet with. It's better to do it in advance than it is on site, but by all means, that's why they're called Connects. It's to make connections. So feel comfortable doing that any way that makes sense, but try to work as best you can through the online side of it. So Mara, questions and answers, and save the dates and so forth.
Yes, we have a number of questions, and basically first, before we jump into the questions, I want to make sure that I thank all of you for attending and taking this time out of your day, and to thank our presenters, Scott and Leslie and Alex, and for Roberta sitting in, and for Steve, who so brilliantly facilitated this discussion and kept it on time. We are at our bewitching hour end of this session. However, we can go to questions. If you'd like to stay on and ask some more questions, we're willing to sit here and answer those for the next 5 minutes or so. But right now, one of the questions would be about how you access the sessions and handouts from this year's conference. That if you're a member, as soon as these sessions are done, we actually upload them the evening that the session took place, and you can be looking at them with a bit of a time lag in February. We're talking about next year's conference, but for this year's conference, for the ETC 2014 conference that took place in Orlando, they already are online. All you have to do is go into the resource section and click, and it'll come up with all of the different recordings for that year. And actually, we have a significant number of them. If you have any questions, you certainly can email us.
We have two other questions, too. We might as well just keep going. One is evening events. Somebody was questioning what the evening events would be for the 2015 conference.
As always, we always want to make sure that the evening events are a highlight because they're the networking prominent networking venues. So when you arrive, we'll have some wonderful music and festivities from Peru to open up our conference. And on the second night, we have our annual community dinner, which brings together different constituents, many that are tour operator competitors, to bring to you an evening of networking and focus on just community. And then the last night, we have it with a destination dinner that we will host that will focus on the destination, but again, the priority focuses on networking. So that's why it's so important for people to stay around and enjoy these venues. They're not only elaborate and wonderful, beautiful venues, and certainly we have some new ones this year planned for you. They're also a great way to get to know new people, and a lot of business actually is done during that time as well.
So here's another great question. One of the planners came on and said, if I know somebody who would like to sponsor an event or some of the materials, how do I, who do they go to, and how do I encourage them to do so?
If you know destinations or colleagues that have said that they want to sponsor, most of the sponsorships, they are renewed every year, but there's always venues where we can get support. And some actually, some national organizations on the planner side have actually supported some things online for resources. So just give us an email. It's great, anything that people contribute, and certainly to the silent charity auction, if you have something to donate, as Leslie made the case, I think it's wonderful. It's just a really community involvement process.
So forget saving these dates. Go right to the bottom line. Register now online for the conference. That's the best way to handle all of this. And I will say, as we said in the earlier webinar, things do book out. Things are limited. Mara's added hotel nights already. You said, what, 50
yes,
additional
we had
ones?
to just add 50 hotel nights for Friday because people want to stay over and really stay for the weekend, and that's on top of an expanded space as well. Right. The rate of $169 is not typical for the Marriott. Its typical rate is $345, $245 potentially, even though it's February. It's a very, very busy hotel, and it's actually, we're walking into it as it's been totally renovated. So I have to say, take advantage of the rates. Yes. Because I don't think you're going to see that rate in Boston.
And I'll encourage you, again, if you want to come in on Monday night to take advantages of the seminars on wheels, that's another great thing, but space is limited. So, as Mara said, thank you all for joining us from around the world. It's been great to have you. We would also like your comments. We'll be emailing you for your comments on this webinar. We really appreciate your participation, and we'll see you at the conference in February. Bye.